Shalom, giving all praise to Yahawashi, Qadash, Shalom to the 144,000 and the rest of the elect out there. Shalom to you. Anyway, I'm going to entitle this video Zechariah 14. Now, somebody asked me to break this down. He said mainly the first few verses, because a lot of times we'll go directly to the 14th verse. I'm sorry, 12th verse. Give me a second. Go right here. The plagues, talking about the missiles, the flesh shall consume away, and so forth. And then we may read even further, about the nations having to bring their forces to us. That's in Isaiah, and they're going to worship, they're going to honor the Sabbath and all the high holy days. And it speaks about the Feast of Tabernacles. So they're going to partake in those days as well. Okay, because that's part of the worship of the Most High. So let's just go into the first verse. I'm not going to make this long, because we know the 12th verse on down. So I'll read a couple of verses, see where the Spirit takes me. Zechariah 14:1, behold, the day of Yahawah cometh. Now we know when it says the day of Yahawah, the day of the Lord, anytime you see that, behold, the day of the Lord cometh, we know it's talking about the day of the Lord, when the destruction comes. And thy spoils shall be divided in the midst of thee. Now it says in Genesis 49, it speaks about Benjamin. Matter of fact, let me get that. And that refers to all the tribes. The spoils is going to be what Esau has. Got to open up another tab here. Okay. Bear with me for a minute. Genesis 49. Okay, this is what I wanted. Genesis 49, verse 27. Let me read the 21st verse, 26th verse, 27th verse. Benjamin shall Israel's prophecy concerning his sons gathered, and Jacob called unto his sons, and this proves that Jacob was a prophet, and said, gather yourself together, but that I may tell you which shall before you in the last days. So this prophecy is being fulfilled even to this day. So now let's go down to 27th verse. Benjamin shall raven as a wolf in the morning. He shall devour the prey. The prey are the Edomites and other nations. And at night he shall divide the spoils. So who's going to divide the spoils? Benjamin. The prey are the other nations, starting with Edom, Esau. But that refers to all of us, because we're all going to do that. So let's come back over here. Behold, the day of Yahawah cometh, and thy spoil, read Genesis 49:27, shall be divided in the midst of thee. So it's almost word for word. Now, another thing you can look at is right here. It says God will battle Jerusalem's foes. So they give you a bunch, what is it? Three precepts, not really more. Ezekiel 38 and 39, we know what that's talking about. Ezekiel 38, 39 is getting ready to happen. Mark 13, they could have put in Luke 21 and Matthew 24, because that goes with hand in hand with Mark 13. Also Revelation 20 to 22. And then we're going to get into Revelation 20. So like when you go to Revelation chapter 20 and you go to the 7th verse, this is what this is talking about here in it's the same thing as spoken about in Zechariah 14. So this is what it's talking about. It says, give me a second. Second verse, for I will gather all nations against Jerusalem. Now, what precept should come to mind? Revelation 20, verse 7. So we'll read that in a little bit. Against Jerusalem. Jerusalem is a place, but it's also a people as well. It said, for I will gather all nations against Jerusalem to battle. And that's talking about the actual nation state or the land, but it's also talking about the people scattered throughout the world. They shall come down with a great wrath, knowing that they have but a short time. It says, and the city shall be taken, and the houses rifled, and the women ravished. Now that's talking about on both sides. There's going to be all kind of hell going on. The troops coming in, martial law, some grab up woman, Edomite woman, some Jake woman, because you got the 2/3 that's going to get, they're going to get caught up in this. So this is referring not just to Israel, it's referring to the other nations, because Jacob's trouble is also Esau's trouble, which is also the trouble of the nations, because they're all going to catch hell. But their focus is on the Israelites. Woman ravished, and half of the city shall go forth into captivity, because that's poetic for some of the people are going to survive and they're going to go into captivity. The other people are going to be dead. That's how war happens. A certain amount of people. It doesn't mean exactly half. It means some of the people are going to die, and the rest that are not dead, they're going to go into captivity. And this is getting ready to happen. And the residue of the people shall not be cut off from the city. And we know what the city's talking about. Because where's Israel? Where's Jerusalem? They're in the great city. They're elect. But the elect are also scattered throughout the planet. But the majority of them is here in America. That's why the focus should be on America, because that's what salvation is all about. We're going to be saved out of it. The salvation is referring to us being delivered from this fire, the place where the worm dieth not and the fire is not quenched. What did the Lord mean by that? The place where the worm dieth not, meaning there's going to be a lot of death and the fire is not quenched. Can't put out that fire. That fire, because the fire is going to have to go out by itself. That's talking about America. So the South, who's going to receive salvation? Not Israelites in Africa, unless they are the elect. But if you have Israelites in Africa, there's 1/3 and the elect, and the rest of them, they're not gonna suffer the destruction. They're not going to suffer the destruction of Babylon. So we don't got to worry about them, because when we come down back, Lord willing, we make it, we come back on the earth, we're going to put the nations in order, and we're going to tell them that the Israelites are not going to really buck up against us too much, because we're going to have spiritual power. So, you got the IUIC, their whole focus on Africa. That don't make no sense. Oh, we got to save them. No, you don't, because after the missiles come, they're going to see it. So the main focus is on the elect that's in America. You got to put that seal in the heads of America, which the Most High is going to do. But he's going to initiate it by us, by the foolishness of preaching. It says, then shall Yahawah go forth and fight against those nations, because that's the time of Jacob's trouble. That's Michael, Daniel chapter 12. Then Michael shall stand up. That's when they come. That's when they declare martial law. That's when they gonna lock Jacob. Revelation 2:9. Revelation 2:10. The MOTB. Because some of us are gonna be locked down. Some of us are gonna get put to death. That's when he fought in the day of battle. So this is going to be the last battle. And you can't compare this battle to any other battle. So Zechariah 14 is talking about, goes hand in hand with Revelation chapter 20, mainly chapter 20 and 7. Zechariah, as you read down, it says, Judah shall also fight at Jerusalem. In this same chapter, Zechariah 14. So the 4th verse, for his feet shall stand in that day upon the Mount of Olives. Now, what does it mean when you stand upon something? That means you rule it. It doesn't mean you're going to see, oh, that's the Yahawashi. Look at it. Look how big he is. No, that's symbolic and poetic for he's going to take this whole place. So those are visions. So which is before Jerusalem on the east, and on the Mount of Olives shall cleave or cut in half. In the midst thereof, toward the east and toward the west, and there shall be a very great valley and a separation, and half of the mountain shall remove toward the north, and half toward the south. So what is that talking about? We're going to break this, like the Romans. What does it say? Stamp the feet of it. In other words, we're going to set up regions for people to live. So, because we're going to put nations back in their land, and we're going to put the Israelites back in their land, the ones that survive. 5th verse, and ye shall flee to the valley of the mountains, for the valley of the mountains shall reach unto Azel. Yeah, ye shall flee like as ye fled. That's a great escape. That also goes back to 70 AD. The Lord said, when you see the abomination and make it desolate, then flee into the mountains. So the ones that could escape. And it says, Uzziah, king of Judah, and Yahawah, my power, shall come, and all the saints, who are the saints, the Israelites, with thee. And it shall, this starting with the elect, and it shall come to pass in that day that the light shall not be clear nor dark. That's talking about when the missiles cover the skies, it's not going to look like daytime or nighttime. It's going to have a funny, dark off look in the skies. And they're going to realize those are the missiles. Remember, it says the sun shall be darkened and the moon shall not give her light. That's literally and figuratively and spiritually. Esau is not going to have answers. But it also is talking about when the missiles cover the sky, you're not going to see the sun and the moon. So in the middle of the day, everything going to be bright and the day's going to be out and the sun's going to be out. And all of a sudden, everything going to go dark. And then they're going to see lights, which are the fire from the missiles. And then they're going to start screaming. They said there should be weeping in the morning. There should be gnashing and gnashing at the teeth and weeping. But it shall come, but it shall be one day which shall be known to Yahawah, not day nor night, but it shall come to pass that at evening time it shall be light. So the light is the missiles, because the missiles are being carried by that fire. So that day, when you look up in the skies, it's not going to look like nighttime, quite like nighttime. It's not going to look quite like daytime. It's going to have like an off look in the skies. And then, like I said, they're going to realize those are the missiles. And at that same time, we're going to be delivered. And it shall come to pass in that day that living waters, as the kingdom, shall go out from Jerusalem, that's the kingdom, half of them toward the former sea, and half of them toward the hinder sea. In summer and in winter shall it be, that's the kingdom. The Most High will be king over them all. So that's clearly the kingdom. So when you go to the first verse, we know that that's talking about the destruction and the deliverance of the elect of Israel. And like I said, we don't got to go to these far off countries, one city to the next city, to wake up all of Israel. That's not our job. We say that all the time. Apostle Gabar says that all the time. Our job is just to put this out there to the elect. Zechariah 14, verse 9, and Yahawah shall be king over all the earth. That's the kingdom. And that there be one Yahawah, and his name one. Not Yahweh and Yahuwah and God and Jesus. He'll have the Father's name and the Son's name. All the land shall be turned as a plain. From plain is a flat land. The U.S., America is going to be a flat land. After the missile is going to be a desert, a vast desert. Giba to Ramah south of Jerusalem, and it shall be lifted up and inhabited in her place from Benjamin's gates or Benjamin's land, unto the place of the first gates. Now the gates going to the temple, the kingdom itself, unto the corner gate. Go to Revelation chapter 22. That's why it mentions that. Let me do this. Come back over here. That's why I mentioned Revelation 22:22, because what does Revelation 21 and 22 say? It speaks about the gates of the city, right? Benjamin's gates unto the place of the first gate, unto the corner gate, and from the tower of the Hananel unto the king's wine presses. Because in our kingdom, you're gonna have to make wine the old-fashioned way, press it in grapes. It says, and men shall dwell in it, the kingdom, and there shall be no more utter destruction. Right, because after the last destruction, as they say, the war, the end all wars, there's going to be this war coming, the war of Armageddon, the Third World War. It said, but Jerusalem shall be safely inhabited, because we're going to be in the kingdom. Looking like this crack on the TV, and the cracker looking dusty as hell. It says, and this shall be the plague. Now, you know what that means. So now he's going to tell you what this is all about. He's explaining to Zechariah what was that, what was it from the first verse to the 11th verse all about. So now he's going to be more specific. He's talking about the nuclear missiles. So I'm going to read that, and then I'm going to close it because I don't need to read anymore. Everybody knows the rest. If you don't know, just ask. Everybody should have a full understanding of 12th verse down to the end. It's talking about the destruction, the time of Jacob's trouble, and the kingdom of heaven. The latter part is going into the kingdom of heaven. That's when we're going to be up over the other nations. They're going to keep the laws. The fact that they got to keep the tabernacle proves what? That they got to keep the laws, including the high holy days. They got to honor the Sabbath. And men shall dwell in it, and there shall be no more utter destruction, because of the Babylon's going to be utterly destroyed, but Jerusalem shall be safely inhabited. And you don't have to worry about your children. You can have a toddler just walk out and, I mean, not that we're going to do that, but you ain't got to worry about your children. You ain't got to worry about your wives and nothing like that. Deuteronomy 28, it says, in the morning thou shalt say what to the father, it was the evening. In the evening thou shalt say what to the father, it be morning. We're not going to be saying that in the kingdom. It says, and this shall be the plague wherewith Yahawah will smite all the people that have fought against Jerusalem. Number one on the list, Psalms 83, is the Edomites. The Ishmaelites is number two. It said their flesh shall consume away while they stand upon their feet, and their eyes shall consume away while they stand upon their while they in their holes, and their tongue shall consume away in their mouth. So their flesh is going to consume away, their eyes are going to consume away, meaning they're not going to see any more visions. The horn was given eyes to see in Daniel chapter 7. They're not going to have any vision. They're not going to have vision. And it says, and their eyes shall consume away, their flesh shall consume away, meaning they're going to be no more, and their eyes in their holes, and their tongues in their mouth. They're not going to be talking shit no more. They're not going to talk about what they're going to do. Going back to Daniel 7, and the little horn with eyes had spoke great things. So let me go to that, and then I'm gonna close, because y'all know the rest of this. Not a deep break, not a real hard breakdown. Hey, they helped us out. God will battle Jerusalem's foes, Israel's foes, and they give you the right precepts. So now you know that this is talking about the destruction. Israelites are going to get caught up in it. Edomites are going to get caught up in it. Other nations are going to get caught up in it. But ultimately, our Lord is coming for the saints, the Israelites, starting with the elect. So let me do this. Daniel 7. Give me a second here. Because I quote this, so let me read this. I considered the horns, which is Esau's beat the beast system, and behold, there came up among them another little horn that represents America, before whom there were three of the first horns plucked up. This Revolutionary War between England, the Spanish-American War between the Spanish and the French-American War, which was we fought the war in France, middle Louisiana, which is the middle America. The East Coast represents the colonies of Great Britain, and out there in the West was the Spaniards. They were out there in the West. And behold, in this horn were eyes like the eyes of men, and a mouth speaking great things, talking about what they're going to do. Kennedy said, we're going to go up into space. Not because it's easy, but because it's hard. Well, no, you were fulfilling prophecy. Obadiah 1. So their eyes shall consume away in their holes, and their tongue shall consume away in their mouth, is they're not going to see any vision. In captivity, they're not going to see a way to get out of the captivity. They know they're going to be in captivity for the long haul, 1,000 years. And they're not going to be running their mouth talking about what they're going to do, because they're going to be getting their asses whipped. Anyway, with that, I'm going to say shalom on to the next one. Shalom.